Hundreds of thousands of Filipinos across the country got their COVID-19 vaccines and booster shots as the government wraps up day one of the national vaccination drive. The goal is to administer vaccines to 3 million people daily, every day until Wednesday. Now that is down from the initial target of 15 million. Vaccine czar Carlito Galvez cites logistical and manpower problems, including the lack of vaccinators and syringes for Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine in some local governments for the adjusted target. As of 4 this afternoon, over 18% of the daily target, or more than 547,000 vaccines, have been administered. Galvez tells CNN Philippines the government is now eyeing to give booster doses to the A4 and A5 priority groups as early as December 10. These are government and economic frontliners, as well as indigent Filipinos who have completed their COVID-19 shots within the last 6 months.
Kasi nakita namin na we have more than enough vaccines already. We have 61 million in our warehouses and 38 million already deployed on the different warehouses ng provinces at saka ng mga regions and also municipalities and cities. And we want to make use of this vaccine as soon as possible time kasi we will be receiving more, 40 million.
So how was the first day of this massive vaccination drive? President Duterte visited one of the inoculation sites in the Calabarzon region to check the situation for himself. Carolyn Bonkin filed this report from Antipolo, Rizal.
We are now in a vaccination site at a mall in Antipolo City, Rizal Province. And much like all of the other vaccination sites nationwide, they're trying to get more vaccinees until Wednesday. And most of those coming in this Monday are adolescents, and they're accepting even those who live in another city or municipality. The national government is paying attention to Calabarzon and Central Luzon despite having over 60% vaccine coverage. Health officials explain these areas have the most number of unvaccinated individuals nationwide in terms of population. DOH Calabarzon's target is to inoculate 3 million people in 3 days. That's already a third of the 9 million nationwide target this vaccination day. This past weeks, around 300,000 people were inoculated in Calabarzon alone, so local governments need to triple that number. With this massive vaccination drive, President Rodrigo Duterte says 54 million Filipinos will be fully vaccinated by year-end. That's 70% of the 70% target adult population, plus 80% of minors aged 12 to 17. That's around 10 million teenagers. The government also aims to complete the provision of booster shots for eligible health workers, senior citizens, and immunocompromised individuals. That is, if everything goes according to plan. But as of Monday, several local governments are still facing dilemmas, not only in logistics, but also in convincing those who are still hesitant or still have a preferred vaccine brand to get inoculated. Carolyn Bonkin, CNN Philippines.
While many people here in Metro Manila and nearby provinces trooped to vaccination sites, local officials in far-flung areas had to go door-to-door to administer COVID-19 shots. Our George Quiles joins us live from Quezon Province. George?
Well, Pia, we're here in Alabat Town. This is an island municipality in the eastern side of Quezon Province. And the health officials here are generally satisfied. They're happy about the turnout on the first day of the national vaccination drive, except for this farthest barangay, where officials had to go house to house to convince people to get inoculated. Residents of Barangay Camagong in the island municipality of Alabat flocked to their multipurpose hall on the first day of the national vaccination drive. Among them, 63-year-old Erwin Valera. At his age, he still works as a construction worker. He said the 3-day event was his chance to get extra protection against a deadly virus.
Dayak ko na talagang magpabakuna noong una, dahil nga lamang ito, abala ko sa trabaho, ngayon lang ako nagkaroon ng magandang pagkakataon, kaya ngayon lang ako nakapagpunta.
But Valera needs to wait a bit longer. His vaccination was deferred because of his high blood pressure.
Okay lang naman, wala naman po ako nararamdaman na pagkahilo ko, ano po man, wala pa naman.
If the vaccination in Barangay Camagong was a hit, it's a different scenario in the town's farthest barangay, Villanorte. Barangay officials had to go house to house to convince the residents to get vaccinated.
Napansin namin, pati yung mga farmers, mga fishermen, mga kalalakihan, nagpa-vaccinate sila. ano sila, gusto nila na sila pinupuntahan.
Susadyain mo talaga.
Oo, kasi yung dito sila pupunta sa bayan.
So far, among the nearly 17,000 eligible population, more than half have already received at least one dose of COVID-19 vaccine.
Hindi naman kami ganong nahihirapan dahil sabi ko nga, yung statistics namin ikumpara mo sa ibang bayan, mas pataas kami.
Quezon Province so far has the lowest number of fully vaccinated residents among provinces in Calabarzon at 26%. That's based on the Health Department's data as of November 26. In today's vaccination, the local government used AstraZeneca doses that are set to expire tomorrow. As of now, we have yet to get an update whether all those 200 doses or so were administered today. Otherwise, they will be just part of the government's vaccine wastage. Back to you.
George, you said the vaccines used today will expire tomorrow. When did the local government there receive these vaccines?
Well, Pia, Dr. Roselia Cheng of the Municipal Health Office said that they received these vaccines 2 weeks ago, and they immediately used these vaccines after learning about its impending expiration. Now, they are hoping that all the 200 doses or so will be used today so that they will be able to avoid wastage. Back to you.
And George, when did they get these vaccines? Kailan dumating sa kanila?
That was 2 weeks ago, Pia.
2 weeks, okay. All right, 2 weeks ago. Sorry.
That's right.
George Kailas there reporting from Quezon Province. We take a look now at how the national vaccination drive kicked off in other provinces. Vaccination sites across the Bicol region were filled with residents eager to get their doses. Authorities there hope to inoculate more than 1 million individuals during the 3-day drive. Bicol currently has the second lowest vaccination rate in the country. In Cebu, a new house, car, and other incentives await lucky vaccinees. A total of 2,900 vaccination sites in Cebu City were open for the rollout. The province is targeting to inoculate over 500,000 individuals. And in Eastern Visayas, close to 300 vaccination sites were opened in various parts of the region. It wants to vaccinate 800,000 residents for the 3-day program. To achieve the target, the Department of Health has asked the support of the Office of Civil Defense in delivering vaccines to island towns and villages like Suluan and Homonhon Island. The second wave of the national immunization drive will be held December 15 to 17. That will focus more on second doses and booster shots. The World Health Organization reveals more details about the new COVID-19 variant of concern, Omicron, which has countries on high alert. The WHO says early studies suggest an increased risk of reinfection, but that information is still limited. The body adds it is not yet clear whether Omicron spreads more easily or if it causes more severe disease compared to other variants. The WHO also looking at Omicron's potential impact on vaccines. The health department says it may affect efficacy, but stresses getting inoculated is better than having no protection at all. Chrissy Di Matulak tells us more.
Ang ating mga bakuna ay epektibo pa. Subalit, posibleng yung percent ng effectivity or efficacy nila ay mas mababa, no, kumpara doon sa base sa clinical studies ng ating mga bakuna at doon sa epekto ng bakuna sa mga walang variants of concern.
This is the reaction of the Health Department on questions regarding the efficacy of COVID-19 vaccines against the latest coronavirus variant of concern, the Omicron. According to the World Health Organization, the variant was first detected in South Africa last November 24. The first case of the Omicron was reported on November 9. The DOH warns that the variant can possibly increase the transmissibility of COVID-19. The Health Department says the Philippine Genome Center has the capability to detect Omicron. However, they urge local government units and testing centers to immediately submit samples of COVID-19 cases for sequencing.
ang ating Philippine Genome Center ay may kakayahan na ma-detect siya. At base sa mga na-sequence natin, hindi pa natin siya nakikita both in our local and our ROF samples.
Health Secretary Francisco Duque meantime says vaccination is not the only protection from the virus. He reminds that because of the presence of Omicron, we should not be complacent.
Huwag tayong tutulad sa mga bansang Europa, na nagluwag sila sa kanilang mask mandate, yung pag-uutos na mag-mask, nagluwag sa social mobility, sa physical distancing. O di, kita nyo, grabe, sipa na naman ang kaso sa kanila. Ayaw natin matulad dito.
In terms of preparation for the possible entry of Omicron in the country, the DOH says safety measures are being implemented at our borders. The country has already imposed travel bans on 7 African nations where Omicron is detected. People arriving in the country are also being screened, tested for COVID-19, and subjected to quarantine. Much remains unknown about the newest variant. According to the Health Department, they are closely coordinating with the World Health Organization for more data and findings on the Omicron variant. Chrissy de Matulak, CNN Philippines.
A South African doctor who was among the first in the country to suspect a new COVID-19 variant says the cases she treated have been mild and no one required oxygen so far. Some of the symptoms include severe fatigue, headache, coughs, or body pain. Back here at home, the government says it is implementing a 4-door strategy amid the threat of Omicron. The first door refers to travel restrictions being imposed in areas where the new variant may come from. The next are quarantine and testing protocols for international travelers arriving in the country, while the third and fourth are intensified surveillance, detection, isolation, and treatment of cases on the ground.
Yung pagre-red list ng mga countries will be dependent kung meron na pong local case ng Omicron doon sa bansa na yon. Kung imported case po siya, then we have the option of retaining the status of the country, whether yellow or green. Pwede pong ma-override yan kung sa tingin ng IATF at ng mga eksperto natin ay hindi ganon kaganda ang nakikita natin na surveillance activities na ginagawa doon sa bansang yon at hindi tayo ganon ka-confident sa ginagawa nilang mga genome sequencing.
In news overseas, Japan is not taking any chances with the new variant. It will temporarily suspend new arrivals of foreigners beginning Tuesday. Prime Minister Fumio Kishida says this is an emergency precautionary measure to avoid the worst situation. A person who recently traveled to Japan from Namibia tested positive for the virus, but it is unclear if it is the Omicron variant. Meantime, over 40 territories have announced travel restrictions on African nations, which they, along with the WHO, criticized. The WHO says travel bans that target Africa only attack global solidarity, as the variant has also been detected in other regions. It adds South Africa should be commended for its transparency and speed in informing countries about Omicron. Coming up on Newsnight Farm, the executives Lincoln Ong and Mohit Dargani are transferred to the Pasay City Jail, and McDonald's lights up the holiday season by taking their customers on a magical ride. Stay tuned.
Linsky General Merchandise, San Pedro District,
Eatery
Pagadian
owner
City.
Jinky Kawe believes popularity should be one of the attributes of a candidate.
Yung kilala na siya, yung alam na ng buong tao kung ano yung nagawa niya sa bansa.
Barangay Coordinator Epifania Escultor wants a candidate who experienced poverty.
Naniniwala po ako, pag ang tao po ay nanggaling po sa hirap at ang puso niya ay nasa masa, tsak, aasenso ang Pilipinas at maganda ang pamamalakad.
A few more months before the 2022 national and local elections, voters have begun forming their criteria for choosing their candidate. Some prefer a man for the masses, while others believe the contender should be popular, a celebrity with name recall, even if they are unsure if the candidate would do well in public service. These sentiments are reflected in the results of a recent survey by the social weather stations for Strat-based ADR Institute on the preferences of Filipino voters. Among the preferred candidates are old names in politics such as Chis Escudero, Alan Peter Cayetano, Noren Legarda, Mig Zubiri, and Jojo Binay. Only 2 out of 12 are not familiar names in politics. These are broadcast journalist Rafi Tulfo and actor Robin Padilla.
The rules of the game always focuses on who's popular. It's always about name recall. That's the unfortunate reality of Philippine politics.
While popularity is important, political scientist Karl Mark Ramota says voters should not invest on it, but rather on the candidate's plans for the country.
The stories revolve primarily around who is going to file their candidacy, who will win, who is more popular, who is winnable, instead of asking the questions, what principles do they represent, what issues do they intend to focus on, what type of campaign or message are they going to deliver.
It's a different thing for Taho vendor Helacio Lopez, who has been a registered voter for more than 20 years.
Pag-artista, hindi ko ibuboto yung. Ngayon, marami ako ibuboto yung mga bago na alam kong makakatulong sa bansa.
But Lopez is aware of the downside of voting unpopular candidates.
Pag binuboto ko yung mga hindi sikat, talo.
Ramota says voters should not be blamed, but the existing political culture. While educating voters is important, a broader political reform is necessary.
They must be able to translate their message in a language that can be easily understood by the common tao.
Stanley Gates, CNN Philippines.
Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City debuted in 5th place, taking in $5.3 million. Eternals fell to 4th place, but $7.9 million pushed the Marvel movie past $150 million domestic total. House of Gucci opened in 3rd, grossing $14.2 million from Friday to Sunday and $21.8 million in its first 5 days. Ghostbusters Afterlife lost the title in its sophomore weekend, though $24.5 million gave it a 10-day domestic total of $88 million.
Welcome to Family Madrigal, the home of the Family Madrigal. We're on our way.
Encanto sang and danced its way to a first-place debut. The animated musical made $27 million from Friday to Sunday and $40.3 million in its first 5 days in theaters. In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
Linsky General Merchandise, San Pedro District, Pagadian City, at bang sa balay sa mga pawaran kaniadto na maligya sa mga makina o piyesa sa mga nagkalain-laing sakyanan, sama sa 10-wheeler, forward, elf, bungo ug daghan pang uban. Tag-iya ug tagdumala mao si Madam Arlene Solihon Fernandez ug si handsome boy Jesse Fernandez, ang pinakailado nga surplus center sa Pagadian City, Zamboanga del Sur. Linsky General Merchandise.
Bang, bang.
Welcome back to Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines. The country records the lowest number of new infections today in more than 16 months. The health department tallied 665 new cases, the lowest since July 14th last year. There are more than 16,200 active cases, which represent those who are currently infected and infectious. Today's positivity rate is also the lowest since data became available. This marks the 17th day in a row that the country's positivity numbers have fallen within the WHO's benchmark of 5%. Two executives of the controversial government supplier Pharmally Pharmaceutical, now detained at the Pasay City Jail, Lincoln Ong and Mohit Dargani, were transferred there this afternoon over their refusal to submit documents needed for the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee's probe into their company. Our Amor Santos tells us more.
After being detained in the Senate, formerly executives Mohit Dargani and Lincoln Ong are now here at the Pasay City Jail. They will join more than 1,000 inmates in this facility that has a 1,000% congestion rate. Prior to the transfer, Dargani and Ong had a medical checkup at the Senate. Their antigen tests were negative for COVID-19. They were also given time to talk with their lawyer and family members. Dargani's mother visited him at the Senate, while Ong's wife came with him all the way to the Pasay City Jail. She asked for privacy. Attorney Don Kapunan says it was his client's decision not to submit the financial documents sought by senators. Lawmakers believe this will shed light on Farmali's alleged anomalous transactions with government for the supply of medical goods amid the pandemic. But Farmally officials say the senators should have filed charges instead of dragging the Senate inquiry.
I think they have come to that point already na wala na, nothing to lose na sila eh. Kumbaga, this is the worst that could possibly happen to them. So I think it was a conscious effort that they made, as I've said, not to reveal the documents.
Kapunan says even if Dargani and Ong would attend the next Senate hearings, they decided to no longer give material information, invoking their right against self-incrimination. Another lawyer, Ferdinand Topacio, says he's now preparing to file cases against senators, but he did not elaborate. They already filed petitions with the Supreme Court. Senate Blue Ribbon Committee Chairman Richard Gordon says the Farmally officials' continuous lying and refusal to answer questions truthfully and forthrightly have crossed the line. He says their transfer to the Pasay City Jail is also to protect the Senate as an institution, which has the power to cite uncooperative resource persons in contempt and send them to jail. Another Farmally official, Mohit's sister Twinkle Dargani, will remain detained in the Senate in consideration of her mental health. Amor Santos, CNN Philippines.
The 2022 elections may present or may have the longest list of presidential candidates in the country's history. COMELEC spokesman James Jimenez says the poll body has moved to declare 82 out of 97 presidential hopefuls as nuisance candidates. That would still leave up to 15 aspirants in the race for Malacanang. Jimenez says the record so far is 10 official candidates for president back in the 1990s. There may also be up to 12 candidates for vice president, with the COMELEC dropping 15 hopefuls from the roll and 108 aspiring senators. The COMELEC expected to release the official list on December 15th. Meanwhile, the poll body is preparing to hold mock elections exactly a month from now. The dry run will cover 34 precincts in Metro Manila, Davao del Sur, Isabela, and Albay, among others.
Ito na yung end-to-end demonstration ng buong proseso, and iti-testing din gaano ka-accurate, gaano katama at gaano ka-secure yung proseso. Nasusubukan din yung pag-transmit from the precinct level to the City Municipal Board of Canvassers, and sa CCS part from the City or Municipal Canvassers to the Provincial Board of Canvassers up to the National Board of Canvassers, including the 3 servers.
The COMELEC says only up to 10 voters may cast their ballot at a time, except in classrooms and voting areas with bigger space. Over 65 million Filipinos may vote on May 9, 2022. The Armed Forces Chief of Staff speaks up on China's recent actions in the West Philippine Sea. In my exclusive interview on a CNN special presentation, the Generals 2.0, General Andres Centino says the country's vintage warship in Ayungin Shoal will stay.
We are not moving LT-57 or the BRP Sierra Madre. It has been there since 1999. It is a permanent government post manned by our personnel from the AFP, and it is there as a haven for our fishermen who would go to the shoal, and it is used as a monitoring station also for safety at sea. And it is there for us to assert our sovereign rights, considering that it is within our exclusive economic zone.
The use of the water cannon cannot be considered as an armed attack. It is normally used for fire extinguishing. So we leave it at that. But if you ask what is happening when Coast Guard patrols the seas, we have never seen any incident that happened with Coast Guard vessels.
catch the full interview with Santino, as well as the PNP Chief, the Philippine Coast Guard Commandant, and the Drug Enforcement Agency Director General on The Generals 2.0, airing December 5, Sunday, 8 p.m. Up next on Newsnight, this fast food giant is taking Christmas lights to another level to give customers some holiday cheer. We take a look after the break.
DXKP Pagadian, ang inyong Radyo Ronda RPN. Radio Philippines Network. Radio Philippines Network. Live to the world, pinaagi sa FB page, karon mag-download na. Pinaagi sa Google Play og Apple Store, YouTube og Twitter. Alang sa mas ipakuskan ng mga balita, komentaryo, kasayuran og kalingawan. Ang mas ipakuskan nga inyong Radyo Ronda. Member, kapisanan ng mga broadcaster ng Pilipinas.
With only a few weeks before Christmas, there's no question that the holiday season is upon us. But one company is revving its Christmas spirit into high gear by taking its customers on quite a magical ride. Our Sam Sadwani joins us live from McDonald's McKinley West branch in Taguig. Sam?
Thanks so much, Pia. That's right. The Christmas season is undoubtedly here, especially for us Filipinos who start celebrating the holiday season as early as September. And in the spirit of spreading happiness, McDonald's is taking it up a notch with the launch of their first ever ride-through Christmas light show. And I'm very happy to be one of the first to see it up close. But before that, I got to speak with McDonald's Philippines Senior Marketing Manager Ada Lazaro, who shared what went into planning this program and the reason behind this.
Country emerges from one of the longest quarantines in the world. We really wanted to welcome our customers back to our stores with an experience like no other, and this is the Ride Through Christmas Light Show. They can experience starting today up until January 2. The lights are open from 6 p.m. up until 12 midnight. Especially at McDonald's, our commitment is to serve our customers feel-good experiences that they will remember, and this is one of which that we hope we hope will make their Christmas even more memorable. And we have 3 stores. This is happening in McKinley West, in Savannah Park, and also in Alabang West in Las Piñas. So we hope to see you here and experience the Ride Through Christmas Light Show.
Let's take a look at what you can expect when you visit one of these branches. As you can see, this ride-through definitely mimics a beautiful winter wonderland. We have reindeers, a snowman, white Christmas trees all lined up, coupled with your favorite McDonald's vanilla sundae. We even have snowflakes brightening up the place. You can also hear your nostalgic favorite Christmas songs playing in the background. It's truly a sight to behold, one that I'm sure families and friends would love to experience together. After all, going on a road trip with your loved ones, experiencing the ride-through Christmas light show with your favorite McDonald's meal in hand sounds like a pretty sweet idea. Back to you, Pia.
That was Sam Sadwani reporting. It is 26 days before Christmas, and that is it for now. Join me again on news.ph at 7 p.m. I'm Pia Ontiveros for Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines.
Since the onset of the pandemic, health experts have constantly reminded us to boost our immune system to fight COVID-19. But what really is our immune system? How does it work to protect the body from viruses like COVID-19 and other types of outside invaders that can harm our bodies? On the program today, we'll explain how the immune system works and its many parts. We'll also talk about practical ways to boost it. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and this is MedTalk Health Talk only on CNN Philippines. The role of the immune system is to protect us from infection, but there's a lot more to it. The immune system is made up of a wide network of cells, tissues, and organs, and each play a unique role in keeping us healthy. Let's welcome Dr. Paulo Miguel Borja. He's an internal medicine specialist from the Asian Hospital and Medical Center. Also with us is Dr. Cristina Ignacio Alberto, who is a pediatrician and community doctor at Health Index Medical Clinic. We've mentioned that the immune system protects us from foreign invaders that can cause infections like viruses as well as bacteria. I'll start the discussion with Dr. Paulo. How does our immune system work? Yun lang yung simpleng tanong. Could you tell us more about this process?
So your immune system is a complex network of cells, tissues, and organs. Together, they help the body fight infections and other diseases. When germs such as bacteria or viruses invade your body, they attack and multiply. So this is called an infection. The infection causes the disease that makes you sick, and your immune system protects you from the disease by fighting off these germs or these invaders.
Doc Paulo, on the flip side, on the other side, what happens to a person when the immune system isn't working properly naman?
So there can be a lot of reasons why your immune system will not work properly. Of course, the more common cause is what we call an immunocompromised state. So these are individuals with conditions that would impair their immune system or their ability of the body to combat infections. So particularly those who have cancer or malignancy, they're part of those patients who have an immunocompromised state. Post-transplant patients also fall under this category. Those with certain genetic disorders fall under this as well. Those who are taking immunosuppressive medications, such as high-dose steroids, and patients with AIDS, of course, they are considered to have an immunocompromised state. More commonly for our audience, so diabetics and actually the elderly, they can also be considered to be immunocompromised. So what happens when you're immunocompromised is that your body's natural or innate ability to fight off infections is impaired. So in short, your natural defenses are low, making you more prone to infections, making you more likely to get sick. And if ever that you do get sick, you will get sick longer if you are immunocompromised.
Now that we've established the importance of having a strong and robust immune system, there are things that we may do every day that can weaken this. And it's important that our viewers know this because there are some habits that we do every day that may weaken our immune system. Doc Tina, what are some of these factors that can negatively impact our immune system?
Number one, your diet, no, and your lifestyle. It's very important. So if you're taking in, you have a poor diet, of course, that is lacking in vitamins, zinc, and essential minerals, of course, your immune system will go down. Kasi importante po yan in regulating our immune system. Lack of sunlight exposure, because sunlight is very important in regulating the immune system. Tapos yung sedentary lifestyle, no, it also contributes to weakening of the immune system. Of course, poor hygiene can expose us to a lot of germs, and that can also decrease the immune system. Lack of sleep, that's why it is very important to get enough sleep every day. So those are some of the factors that can also weaken the immune system.
Well, Doc Tina, how can what we eat, yung kinakain natin, how can that impact our body's natural defense?
If you have micronutrient deficiency, that will decrease your immune system kasi importante po yan in regulating the immune system. Kaya we always emphasize the importance of a healthy, balanced diet. And of course, we also should avoid taking in too much junk foods kasi this can contribute to obesity and which also can cause metabolic syndrome, which can also decrease our immune system.
Doc Tina, how can we make sure that our immune system stays healthy ngayon na siyempre pandemic, maraming anxious, maraming kulang sa tulog, pero we want to still make sure that the immune system is still strong?
We recommend 7 to 8 hours of sleep for both adults and children, and of course you have to have a fit mental health. So how do we do it? Minsan, meditation can work. Sometimes, it's interaction with the family o kahit online lang po yan. We encourage that. And there is also pet therapy right now. So, those who are pet lovers, we encourage other people to have pets with them kasi this is also part of building up a good mental health process. And of course, you have to have some set activities, especially for the families kasi mental health is also becoming a big problem even for the children and the adolescents.
Okay. Now, other infections like the flu virus or even measles can also weaken our immune system. And this is why flu vaccines and other vaccines as well are available and they are key in our protection. Doc Tina, tell us more about this, especially vaccines for preventable diseases.
Vaccines are very important in preventing many types of diseases, okay? And most of these diseases are both deadly, fatal, and can cause severe lifetime disability. So, what the vaccines do is to protect us from upcoming infections, okay? So, in our immune system, we have the adaptive and the innate immune system. Pag sinabi natin innate, these are inborn immunity. When we say adaptive, this helps us adapt to incoming infections. That's what our vaccines do. So, vaccines help by introducing controlled amount of viruses, bacteria in our body, which can help us mount the bacteria or viruses na natural na pupunta sa katawan natin.
To protect our bodies from infection, many cells, organs, and tissues have to work together. Doc Paolo, let's briefly go over some of the different or the most important parts of the immune system para sa mga viewers natin.
So that includes your skin, which can help prevent the germs from getting into your body, your mucous membranes, which are moist, no? Inner linings, such as your organs, body cavities, all of these are also part of your immune system, actually. White blood cells, which you usually hear from your complete blood count or your CBCs, they're actually a very important and vital part of your immune system. And other organs and tissues in the lymph system, such as your thymus, spleen, tonsils, which you thought before really didn't have any function, they're actually functioning as part of your immune system. So how does it work exactly? So your immune system defends your body against substances that it sees as harmful or foreign. So these substances are called antigens. No? So they may be germs, such as I mentioned, such as bacteria, viruses. They can be chemicals or toxins. No? And even up to a certain point, even sunburn or radiation can also be antigens as well.
When it comes to the immune system, a lot of people may think that antibodies are the key. Pero ang antibodies lang bang importante pagdating sa immune system, Doc Paolo?
The antibodies are actually the terminal or the final product from a well-working immune system. No? Before you get to produce that antibodies, like I said, it has to go through a cascade of processes, no? Before you're able to produce that final product of the antibody. The antibody acts as the final product and acts as a memory cell. No? It gives protection for future infections. Like the term itself, memory cell. No? So once your body is able to produce antibodies or memory cells, it will be able to produce a immune response when it's exposed next time to these triggers. A lot of the major factors, like I said, would be those that would detect the antigens. So that would be your white blood cells, those would be your other cells within your immune system, your receptor cells. Those will be able to identify the antigen first, which is also very crucial. Identifying that something is harmful in your body is definitely key before you get to produce the antigen, before you get to trigger the cascade.
Yeah, so there are a lot of different, really important parts of the immune system other than antibodies. When we return, we'll talk more about the other parts that make up our immune system and why they're so important in keeping us healthy. And later on in the show, we'll give you practical tips on how you can boost it. Your health is our mission here on MedTalk Health Talk. You're watching CNN Philippines. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and welcome back to MedTalk Health Talk, your partner in healthcare. Dr. Tina, let's talk about the role of the bone marrow in our immune system.
Okay, the bone marrow is where your lymphocytes, all your white cells are produced. Okay, your neutrophils, everything. So, ang bone marrow po, yan yung nasa loob ng ating mga bones. Okay, there are red bone marrow and the yellow bone marrow. Ito po yung tinatawag nating bulalo in Tagalog. Okay, so napaka-importante po niyan because this is where the stem cells arises. The stem cells is where all other cells arises. Yung ating mga white blood cells, ang ating red blood cells, and ating platelets. So, when we talk about infection, the most important part will be the white blood cells because they are the ones who fight off infections and invaders in our body.
Now, aside from that, the skin also, as mentioned earlier, is our first line of defense against infection. Doc Paolo, you touched on this earlier. Now, how does it prevent germs from entering our bodies at bakit napaka-importante na alagaan natin ang ating balat?
A lot of us would just think that our skin is just skin, just one layer of skin. Actually, no. It has a lot of layers, your epidermis, dermis, a lot of layers underneath that. No? So all of these function as part of your immune system. So you have there your other cells, no? Keratinocytes, macrophages, as I mentioned earlier, neutrophils, like I said, are there as well. So skin acts as a first line of defense. So skin against protecting invading organisms. So aside from being a physical barrier or that level of protection, the skin as an organ can also produce an adaptive response to protect the body against, for example, ultraviolet radiation, sunburns, which can expose or damage the skin and then let the viruses and bacteria in.
When they think of bacteria, you would usually think of harmful organisms that enter our body. Actually, we have a lot of good bacteria too, especially in our gut, in other parts of our body as well, and they're essential in keeping our immune system robust. Doc Paolo, can you explain this? Could you talk about this a little bit further?
It actually becomes sort of like a vaccine effect for the body. No? It triggers a response, first of all, with your immune system. So it can trigger antibodies that can be protective to something more serious or more damaging. Some bacteria can really be more toxic than others. No? Not all bacteria are the same. Second, these good bacteria will actually colonize or actually live inside your body. No? And that's not actually a bad thing. No? Because space in your body is also limited. No? So if there's good bacteria residing in the lining of some organs, good bacteria meaning they're harmless, they're not really causing any disease, any infection, any active infection in your body, then that's actually a good thing because the bad bacteria will have will run out of places to live or colonize into as long as that good bacteria is there and as long as their colonies are intact.
Autoimmune disorders are commonly known to affect our immune system, and there are dozens of autoimmune disorders today, like rheumatoid arthritis and even type 1 diabetes. Now, Doc Tina, let's give our viewers an idea on how autoimmune disorders are and how disruptive they are to a person's immune system, and what should our viewers know about this?
Autoimmune, from the word itself, meaning auto, yourself, is dysfunction of the immune system. So your antibodies or your white blood cells, instead of attacking the foreign body, it attacks itself. So the brain can be affected, the eyes, the lungs, the heart. So this is what autoimmune dysfunction is all about. So it's the body destroying its own self. So one of the more popular examples, your lupus, your rheumatoid arthritis, your HSP, and of course, very common po, diabetes is one of the autoimmune diseases. Okay? So what happens, yun nga po sinasabi natin, our own immune system destroying our own bodies.
Other conditions that may disrupt someone's immune system that is very common, especially here in the Philippines, are allergies. Now, a lot of people may suffer from allergies. Some people may not be quite sure why they have a certain response when they're exposed to certain allergens. Doc Paolo, can you explain the relationship between allergies and our immune system?
Allergic disease is one of the most common chronic health conditions globally as well. And usually it's familial or hereditary. So people with a family history of allergies have an increased risk of developing allergic diseases. No? So more common allergic diseases, that would be your allergic rhinitis, eczema, asthma is actually considered under that as well, and food allergies. No? It can range from very mild to seriously life-threatening, or what we call anaphylaxis. No? So it's best to identify triggers to your allergies or what you're allergic to. Now, for your question, in connection with the immune system, like we said, the immune system responds to foreign threats to your body. So any foreign threat, that is not just for bacteria and viruses, it actually includes your allergens, allergic triggers as well. So the point is sometimes we take antihistamines to actually dampen and control, regulate your immune system again, no? Because again, these responses are heightened or exaggerated responses that can actually harm your body as well.
So when it comes to certain things like this, it's more of a control that we're trying to look for rather than cure. Now, Dr. Tina, now that the vaccine rollout is focusing now on the younger population, on the younger age group, what can we say about the importance of being vaccinated when it comes to kids?
So COVID-19 vaccine is also recommended now for kids, and I advise parents to get it, lalo na po yung mga parents with children who has comorbid like diabetes, bronchial asthma. It is very preventive of severe COVID infection because right now we're seeing more cases of children getting really severe COVID infection.
Just like the rest of our body, our immune system needs proper nourishment, rest, and a healthy environment in order to stay strong. But how do we do it? Stay with us on Med Talk Health Talk, only on CNN Philippines. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and this is Med Talk Health Talk on CNN Philippines, where caring is our calling. Dr. Tina, can you share with us some tips in order for our viewers to maintain a healthy immune system?
First, number one, part of healthy living is of course daily sunlight exposure, but we also have to be careful kasi nga sabi ni Dr. Paolo, excessive sunlight exposure can also be harmful to the immune system. Number two, get enough rest and sleep. Number three, eat a healthy diet. And of course, you have to have an active, healthy lifestyle. Avoid being sedentary. And of course, for some parents, it's also important to consider or to always pay importance to your mental health kasi mental health also affects our immune system. Okay, your stressors can decrease your immune response to infection.
Dr. Paolo, when it comes to managing stress levels and all this, are supplements affecting our immune system, or are there more simpler ways to boost our own health?
There are a lot of antioxidant supplements that you see, and as long as they are FDA approved and has undergone clinical trials, we definitely recommend them. No? Antioxidants help in cleaning out the debris in your body. You know? So your body cells, on a cellular level, they undergo a lot of processes for it to function well. No? That includes your immune system as well. No? So there are a lot of debris in your body left behind by these processes that can actually hamper your immune system. So it's best to get rid of these debris. No? And taking antioxidants is one way of doing that, no? Whether it be exogenous or from food sources or from the dietary supplements that are available commercially. Now, when we're talking about stress, stress is actually never 100% purely psychological. A lot of people would say that stress is just in your head and it doesn't affect your body or doesn't make you sick. Actually, that's not correct. No? Whenever you're stressed, whether it be physical or emotional, you get to have increased blood pressure, increased heart rate. You can also have gastrointestinal issues or digestive problems. No? So that can also dampen or suppress your immune system.
But Doc Paulo, what is it exactly about stress that causes all of these bad things in our body to happen? Because sometimes having a little stress is actually okay for our body. It makes us more productive, but too much of it can make it bad. What exactly is it about too much stress that causes all of these bad things to happen?
Sometimes we stress our body to a point that in forms of exercise, in forms of mental exercises, that's always good because it actually triggers your cells to undergo the processes, your metabolism, to be fixed correctly. No? However, too much stress can cause the release of the hormone corticosteroids in your body. Now, this is actually your endogenous steroids, no? And it can dampen your immune system, it can raise your heart rate, it can do a lot of damage in the other organs, no? Not just cardiac.
Now, Dr. Tina, I'd like to talk about mga toxins naman. Ano yung mga guaranteed na pangpababa ng immune systems on the toxins that people take? Could certain bad habits that people do create these harmful toxins in our body?
Exposure to cigarette smoking increases the chances of autoimmune diseases. So please do not expose our children, and of course to those who are really smoking, stop or quit smoking, okay? So there are also some, we have to be very careful of what we give to our children and what we take in, because there are some food that can cause autoimmune diseases, like there are tartrazines or food coloring and other substances in our food that can cause autoimmune diseases and cause dysregulation in our immune system. So as much as possible, we try to eat healthy, eat natural, avoid junk foods, and exposing ourselves to other substances that can harm. Even mga cleaning products, we really have to be very particular about it.
I'd like to thank our guests for joining us today, internal medicine specialist Dr. Paulo Miguel Borja and pediatrician Dr. Cristina Ignacio Alberto. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and thank you for watching MedTalk Health Talk on CNN Philippines. We'll see you again next time.